Oh, let's go. Hello, my name's Kevin. I'm the age of a cripple and with,
Bizarros are.
and we're talking about citizenship. What does it mean to be a what does it mean to be a productive member of society? How much do you need to know? Because we were talking about people being made fun of for wanting to ban dihydrogen monoxide. And there was a time that in the South they had, let's say, literacy requirements for voting.
Mm.
Should we have requirements on voting and how should that be done? Because if you got people that really believe organic food is healthier because it's organic, when you ask them, can you give me something inorganic to eat? And they look at you, and I tell you what, my sister wanted to hit me. And so that tells me these are deeply felt convictions, which means should they be deeply felt? And if people have deeply felt convictions in whole areas where we have not, and our deeply held convictions are elsewhere, how do we even get along?
How
The,
do we even get along?
right. No, it's a real concern I have.
Yeah, well, I think not sharing a underlying worldview is kind of at the core of a lot of these issues.
Mm.
But I think going back, citizenship,
Mm-hmm.
it comes with both rights and responsibilities. Um,
Mm-hmm. Or
and
you
and
could,
I think that we have far and away overemphasized uh, rights and not responsibilities. Um,
mm,
should we have requirements for voting? Yeah.
okay. Well, what do you think they should be?
How about property ownership?
Well, that would exclude both of us.
Yeah. So maybe
Eh,
not that.
Well,
Um,
I mean, look, I am. Sargon once said, I'm going to say it like this. Sargon once said that he would like, if somebody says that they want to live in a hierarchical system with them at the top, they don't want to be a part of the system. They just want to be at the top. But me, I look at it and say, what can I live with? What can I live with that I could say, I don't want to vote because my voting in my. Let's put it to you this way. I have an idea for care. But if I were to, let's say, in this care facility, there's a deal made. We'll take care of you. We'll make sure your foods are met and you're well entertained. But we ask you two things. One, you don't vote. And two, you don't reproduce. That way we get out of the rat experiment problem. Because here's the thing. Most people that are out there sowing chaos, they want to do two things. They want to reproduce and they want to eat. Well, they want to have sex, but they don't want to reproduce. They just end up squishing parts in ways where they end up reproducing.
yeah.
But
I think well, I don't think this idea is original to me, but I
right,
like it. Um,
okay,
the idea of you can vote if you're a net taxpayer.
I'm a
meaning
net taxpayer.
if you put more into the system than you take
Oh.
out.
Well, nobody really does that.
Yeah, a lot of people do. A lot of people
Well,
pay more than they get.
who's paying 51% in taxes?
No, I'm saying if you're a recipient of
Uh-huh.
benefits from taxes,
Uh-huh.
um,
Uh-huh.
if that basically if so that would basically mean anyone on welfare, social security, anything like that
Yeah,
wouldn't get to vote.
I'm down with that.
But if you're putting more into the system than you're taking out, essentially.
Well, that would preclude a lot of families from being involved
Yeah,
uh,
and if
be-
they're if
because
they're
of the
struggling just
child.
to make ends meet, maybe they need to worry just about making ends meet and not worry about the broader culture.
That's true. That's true. But unfortunately, our political system is uh, bent towards resentment because it's out of resentment that Black Lives, you know, gets their, Black Lives Matter
But the
implies that.
problem with having it so that if you're a net recipient of of tax benefits or of benefits from the government, then you're essentially setting up a system where your vote can be bought.
But that's not the greatest percentage of votes. Going. That's such a the number of people that are. Let's say you get some boomers together and it's like, okay, they all get a net positive, but they paid in.
Okay.
And then you got people like me who have paid in minimally, but we don't represent that much people. So my thing is this: who are the people out there just living life in a haphazard way? I would say they're the class of people that I draw upon from caregivers. They're the class of people that are drawn upon other sectors as like fast food, things like that. These are menial labor.
Hmm.
These are all people that maybe had a high school education, maybe had some high school, but they're just on the other side of homelessness. And
So you think a intellectual type test would be better?
I I think we should be able to vote in different areas of our life. For example, if you want to vote in the municipals, do you live there? Do you pay taxes?
Right.
If you're now, in order to do statewide national elections, I think there should be some sort of level up your education.
Mm.
And we used to do that through history classes and civics. Now it's all Black Lives Matter and resentment studies.
Mm.
So it got captured by the ideology. And now we got people going around, America's a racist country. And it's like, yeah, but should we drill for oil or not? And I don't think these people are capable of making that decision. But on the other hand, they have the right to vote.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here.
Yeah. A lot of those interests are based more on narcissism
Right.
than true civic concern.
Well, I worked in AmeriCorps in 2000. And, they were so woke. I was sitting in a clothing bank folding clothes, or more or less watching people fold clothes. And they're all, I'm like, hey, what does everyone think about guns? And universally there's this boo hiss. I'm like, oh, not a big fan of guns. While I'm sitting there packing a 9. And here's the thing. They know nothing of what they talk about.
Yeah.
But yet they get to vote on the issue that affects
Right.
the people. And I think if you're going to talk to something, it's going to be allowed to vote on it. You should have some knowledge on it. This is why I'm a big fan of um, the novel Starship Troopers, because it uses
Service procures citizenship. Or
right.
Like that.
So if we were to, let's say, have a set national service of 5 years. Let's say you started 16. 5 years, you're 21. You got your whole life ahead of you. You're fine. It doesn't need to be combat.
The problem is the whole underlying culture. Like right now, if we set something up like that, your service would be okay. Go to this protest and you know.
But you think it is now?
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh,
um,
I thought
that's
you're
my concern with like a knowledge test is who
right.
controls what the knowledge test is.
Well, that's where you're going to need to. That's where standards and competency and the ability to conflict with one another comes into play.
Right.
Because here's the thing: we go to church, and would you say that people are concerned about critical race theory and what it means for I mean, because
Well, our pastor is kind of talking about it,
right.
so I'm hoping that some people are somewhat concerned about it.
Well, right. But what I'm getting at is that how. Well, what do you think the sympathetic response is in many other churches? We're kind of special.
Yeah.
We're kind of ahead of the curve. Not as ahead of the curve as I would like, but
Right. It's all relative. But yeah.
It's like for Olympia, this is not bad.
Yeah.
At least we're talking about rather than, oh, I think Black Lives Matter and blah blah. Oh God. Yes, Black Lives Matter. No kidding. Thank you.
Yeah.
Women's rights are humans' rights. You thought I didn't think women were human?
Apparently.
Yes. So, if I can, dispel with that straw.
That was a punchline of a joke that when I was younger I told.
What?
Women's rights.
What?
That's the punchline. You want to hear a joke?
Yes.
Women's rights. And now I'm canceled. Thanks a lot, Kevin. You made me actually say the joke.
I didn't make you do nothing. I'm just Mephistopheles over here. All right. So anyway, so what I'm trying to say is that I think we need to, slow down and, because here's the thing: if we had good leadership in the White House and in Congress, we could have avoided this whole thing in
Right.
Ukraine.
That's a big thing. It's like there was polls out that was like, do you think that Russia would have invaded if Trump was president? And most people are like, probably not.
Right. And why is that? Because he's a little twitchy. I mean,
because he's intimidating.
Well, but see, I used to take peace studies classes because I thought it was weird that there'd be peace studies, and I go into the class, and they said, in peace studies, why do we always talk about war? And I'm like, war? Oh, maybe I am in the right place. And what I saw was a bunch of soy people sitting there getting angry. We don't want anyone to fight. We no fighting. And it was like feminists. No, no. It's like somebody need a wooden spoon. Did you see the video where somebody actually got online and said, Putin, I wish I was your
Yeah, oh
mother.
God, this.
I wish
Stop it!
I
I
I
can't hear this again.
I'd hug you
I heard
more.
it already 3 times.
Really. But
If I were your mother, you would have been loved and cared
yes. This
for.
is
Okay.
this
More
is
delusion.
this is how they deal with things. I got a caregiver who sits over there. I think Putin's an idiot. I'm like, what?
He's a lot
Why?
of things,
So
but an
what?
idiot, no.
No. I'm looking at the Azov Brigade and I'm like, should we
We should
not?
just replace all of our history classes with Sabaton.
Yes. I agree, Sabaton. Well, in Warhammer 40K.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
Okay.
Well, all of our civics classes with Warhammer 40K.
In the grim dark future, there is only peace. We call it war. It's fun.
It's enforced with extreme violence.
Yes. I mean, look, it's the idea that somehow if women were in charge, it would all work out in the end.
You just needed a mother.
And when I look at it, I look at Margaret Thatcher, Indira Gandhi, and Boutros Ghali from the. Are you eating?
No, I'm not eating.
You're getting. Oh.
I'm just trying to get high on catnip.
You really no.
You want some catnip?
No.
Sorry.
It smells disgusting.
I have ADD.
I can tell. But when it comes, here's the thing. This is how we found ourselves in this situation because Hunter Biden was in with Burisma. Everyone's over there, bilking people and whatnot, and then you got Antifa.
Meanwhile, most Democrat voters don't even know who Hunter Biden is.
I know. And nor do they understand the complications with the laptop. With all the, supposed stuff that made hardened internet investigators go throw up. I want to know what's on that laptop. If I've seen some things on 4chan.
A crack pipe or two?
No. 4chan, they talk about these clubs where they got, like, excrement clubs.
Okay.
Where everyone gets...
That would be on 4chan.
Yeah.
I don't know about YouTube, though.
I'm not going into detail.
Okay.
But weird stuff.
Yeah.
Bizarre stuff. Alex Jones likes stuff.
Turning the frog's gay!
And yet we look at it, we go, it didn't happen.
No, it was transgender frogs, not gay. See, he had that small detail wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, I've tried. So, I think it comes down to the fact that we need to limit the franchise. And in order to limit the franchise, I recommend social bribery.
Okay.
I'm
listening.
Well, I'm saying if you're going to give people a UBI, give it to them, provide them a place where they can live on that UBI, and then say, if you live here, we'll guarantee safety, health care, whatever, but you can't leave. Because in order to...
Ghettos?
Well, I've been told I'm reinventing the prison. Uh, but the way I look at it is, uh, society itself is a social contract.
Okay.
And you'll, I mean, police only work if you give up the right to revenge.
Okay.
So therefore, everything in society is a contract of give and take. And if there are people out there that all they want to do is sit on a bar stool, then I say, good, pay them, get them out of society, throw them in the place where they can do that, and then let them live their life. And then if they want out, here are the conditions you have to make in order to leave. And if you can do that for a certain amount of time where you're at, you can move out. But it's got to be based on the idea that you have to be productive.
But should we be
If you,
enabling a
yes,
self-destructive
they're gonna
lifestyle?
they're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, but should we enable it?
If we don't enable it, they're gonna seek it, and in their desire to seek it, they're gonna be, you know, the crack person is looking for the crack. You're a means to crack.
But I'm in favor of a reality-based consequences. Like, if you want to live in a way that doesn't
Right.
promote life,
Okay.
then you get to not live.
So are you saying that if somebody's like 300 pounds and it's like one more pound and we're putting you down, dude?
No, but we shouldn't be paying for their health care.
I agree. So therefore you put it.
Abolish all entitlements.
Well, I'm gonna have a hard time.
Well, we'll all have more tax money, or we won't be paying as much in taxes, and we'll be more able to help
So you
those who
say
actually
so
are in need.
right. So
That's
how
the
does that
problem.
how does that look like?
It's going to be locally administered. It'll have to, hey, like the church stepping up and actually doing their job.
Oh, so are you saying that my sustenance should come through the church?
Yes.
I agree, but we're not set up for that.
As an entire society, but the church has basically relegated their duty to the government. But
Is
when the
that
government
right?
takes up that responsibility,
Right.
uh, it 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 kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It
Usurps.
usurps, but the church is also abrogating
Mm-hmm.
their duty,
Well, I was
and just communities in general. Like a
right.
community should take care of those in need.
All right. So now that we have smartphones, and now that for example, like Amazon Smile, for a percentage of your purchase,
It's a
you
really
could
small percentage, but yeah.
understood, but nonetheless, let's say and here's the thing: it's like this organization that I want to do. I want to set up a place where it's like the kind of caregiving I need would be best done in a group environment.
I would have,
But that group environment's got to have a lot of freedom involved.
if it weren't for taxes, I
I
would have
use,
probably $200 more a week.
oh, you gonna
That
get
would,
the
and I don't make that much.
right.
That would go a long way
Well,
on a community base. Like,
well,
if everyone had $200 more a week,
yeah.
you could do a lot with that.
Well, here's the problem with that. For every Carnegie and Westinghouse, those guys were. They were like the moguls in the 1890s.
Right.
They're the Elon Musks and yeah. For every one of those, you got hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of other people. And what the government knew is that most of those people don't go to church. Most of those people don't give to things that help me. So, in order for I did a video where I show government spending for defense is under $1 trillion, but government spending for entitlements is over $3 trillion.
Right.
I agree. If we got rid of all those, things would be better. There'd be a lot more income. But where would you end up spending that?
I think people
And
are
would that matter?
especially Americans, are fairly charitable.
We're more charitable than any other Western group.
Right.
I think it's like 3%.
I mean, even like Arab countries have a very high hospitality ethic.
Well, I don't think it's in the giving
That's
of.
kind of a rabbit trail. I don't know why I brought that up.
Well, it's not. Well, they have this idea called zakat. It's like alms, and they give it directly. Well, here's the thing: the only one giving alms is the Saudi prince, and it's alms to people to say, "Hey, remember where this comes from. Be a good guy," and that's how it's done.
Right.
So what I'm trying to say, rather than looking at these people going, you ought to da 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 da, just say, look, I will give you 1,000 a month to go away. And once you go away, you can, because here's the thing, the guy working at McDonald's, it's not a good job. The guys working for me, these aren't good jobs. They're not nice. So that you can make their lives a little better by taking them out of the shitholes that they live. Put them in something nice, like almost like a cruise ship, like a hotel. And it's like, hey, let's work. You're no longer working. What do you want to work on? And have those programs available so they can say, I want to try fasting. I, I want to try this. But most of these people, their lives are so chaotic, they need to step out of that.
Part of the problem is, we talk about abrogating responsibility.
Right.
It's not just the church; it's also the family. Because I was hearing
Yeah, I agree.
a podcast that was talking about how, as soon as Social Security started, the percentage of people in nursing homes skyrocketed.
Yeah.
So, in other words, you provide this quote unquote good thing, and all of a sudden, families are neglecting their duty to their other family members.
Well, it's a little more insidious than that because when my dad took me to the Social Security office in Spokane and I signed my life over to them, my how to say this? One of my relatives wanted to put me in a nice neighborhood. He wanted to buy a property and put me in it. He couldn't do it. Section 8 wouldn't let him.
Huh.
Because you can't get money to family members. But I had a friend who had no relation to me, and he built this place. So it's like, so and same thing with women.
Again, the government usurping the role of the family.
Right. Just like with single moms and dads.
Right.
As soon as the dad's out of the house.
All of a sudden, you get more financial aid.
Yeah.
Yep.
People follow incentives.
And this
and
is
what
like
I'm
the whole downfall of the
Yeah.
black community there's a lot of government policies that have contributed to that.
Well, right. I call my idea Rat City from the rat experiments.
Rat utopia.
Yes.
Hmm.
And the way the rat utopia went wrong is that it allowed the rats to reproduce. Where instead, if
And
you
provided for all their needs.
well, right, if you're
No challenge.
reproducing in that environment, you're not producing healthy offspring.
Hmm.
All I'm trying to say is you give it the right to reproduce, not the right to have sex, because that's what everyone's going for. They're going for the oxytocin hit. So you let them have sex, and then you just over time, that lifestyle will look less and less appealing compared to the others. Because it's like I can either work or I can veg out.
Yeah.
And you're going to have those people. And as long as those people are made to feel resentful and like
But you're
no
making
one.
you're promoting the making of a god out of the state, and
Well,
that's a big part of the problem.
we're already there.
I know, but that's why I'm saying like I'm against
I,
furthering that.
I'm not.
I'm for rolling that back.
In a free society, if there are people that want to worship the state as God, are they free to do so?
Uh, yes, but I don't think we should promote it.
Who's promoting it?
The
My
the
system?
actions, the policies,
No.
if you are setting it up as a
Oh.
godlike
I'm not.
institution,
I'm not doing that. But
we will
you
provide
got,
universal basic income
well.
because we are your God.
Well,
That's the subtext.
here's what I'm trying to say. We have a lot of people that can't fend for themselves right now. Can't.
Humans are pretty
Yes.
resourceful, and
Yes.
need is the mother of invention.
Well, necessity is the mother of invention. But if you're low IQ and people are just like, look, you're going to starve. Can I get you some food? And what I'm trying to say is that I don't see a love of the sheep in this regard. Because I see a love of, hey, you can do it, which on an individual level, I agree. Most people can do it. But what they need is they need some separation from their suffering. And that's what I'm trying to say. And out of that, you're going to have a lot of people who are like, oh, wow, thank you for the last 3 months. This has been great. I think I need to know what I need to do. I'm ready to move on. Let's say you get about half of those to go through. And then you have the other half that are just like, hey, this is awesome. I don't do anything. I'm comfortable. I can do drugs. This is awesome. At least they're not out amongst the wild. And that's what I'm trying to say. You need to contain hell. If you don't contain hell, it goes everywhere. It's the nature of hell.
The gates of hell will not stand against the church.
Well, it won't stand against the church, but what about the alcoholic who does it willingly? And so the church is also not a monolith. And they're made up of human beings too. And lots of the churches are like, Black Lives Matter. So, I mean,
At that point, I'd put. Oh, never mind.
well, what?
I,
Are we talking
I was gonna put the word church in quotations, but
well, we can
that might
say
be a little harsh.
apostate church. What?
I said that might be a little harsh, and
Well,
some of it is definitely apostate, but
right.
not all of it. Just there's naivete, and then there's also apostasy. So
Yeah, and I would say it's very hard to tease out what that is.
right.
And all I'm trying to say is, I look at the homeless people I look at. they need to go somewhere. And what I see a lot of homeless advocacy groups saying it costs $140,000 per person to hold them up. I'm like,
What do you do with like a scripture that's like if they will not work, then they won't eat or something? I forgot. I'm paraphrasing that, and it's
if
not a good paraphrase.
you don't work, you don't eat.
Yeah, but that's the concept basically.
Yeah. Um.
Or if you're not willing to work, at least like whatever your capacity of work is,
Oh, what am I doing here?
you're doing what capacity of work you can. You're using your mind
Bingo.
to try to be productive.
Right. Right. And would you say I'm being rather brave by putting myself out there?
Yeah. I mean, you're braver than me since my face is not on this.
And we're there.
Yeah.
No. Right. But I gotta say that I don't know. There's no easy answer here. Just like
True.
just like Ukraine, there are Nazis on one side,
Literally, yes.
racist Russians on the other side.
It's a mix of Nazis and also
Communist.
fairly corrupt, like Western types.
Right. And so all I'm trying to say is that when it comes to homelessness and people on the fringe, which I see myself as, we have a hard time interacting with people not on the fringe.
But there's a difference between
mm,
quote unquote being on the fringe and like you're putting an effort in
mm,
versus people who are just like given into addiction, drugs,
mm.
just living without they're not even really trying.
I would say I'm also high IQ,
Yeah, but a lot of the homeless are much more physically able than you as well.
but they're very low IQ and low
If you're
high
physically
impulse.
able but low IQ, there's a lot of things you can do.
My grandfather was a merchant marine for a lot of his years, and he was an alcoholic. Uh, One of my uncles, he took him out in the yard to teach him how to be a man and shoot a shotgun. Put a 12-gauge shotgun in my uncle's arms at 12, and then smacked him around where he couldn't shoot anything with it. So what I'm trying to say is this: people like that, we need. It's on like someone like that only functions on a ship out at sea because that's the only lifestyle he can handle. Put him out there, let them be productive, bring them back in, give them safe places to go do their debauchery, and make sure that you know
That's where
I
you lose me.
I know
Safe places to do debauchery. Why?
it can. Let me ask you this: unregulated and regulated prostitution, which is better?
Neither.
I agree. I think regulated over.
I think regulated is worse
Why?
because it legitimizes it.
I don't think it legitimizes it. It makes no. By it's like
It
drugs.
encourages it. If it's
I don't think you're not encouraging it if you're regulating it.
no, if you're saying
Mm.
it's like weed, like
Yeah,
and I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying when you make it legal, you increase usage.
I don't agree with that because I know lots of for myself. When it was illegal, that was a deterrent for me, but wasn't for a lot of people. It may have made it more available. In fact, it's made it healthier to use because the vape, the vape pens are a whole new technology that never would have come about until it legalized. And, and I know a lot of people that get a lot of
See, but I'm for, like, I would be for using
medical.
it medically,
Right.
but where
How do
you
you
lose me
separate the
is,
medical from the recreational?
oh, that's a difficult thing because in
Uh,
practice, like in California,
uh,
when it was legal medically, all
uh,
you had to do to get it was go to a quote unquote weed doctor
yeah.
and pay them, $90 or whatever, and
Mm,
they give you a prescription. All you say is, "I have my back hurts, I get
right.
headaches,"
Well,
something simply, you know,
right. And so therefore it becomes a cat and mouse.
yeah.
Really, you think I'm bullshitting, you prove it. And so, and so what I'm trying to
Well, it
say,
would if there were more serious standards, that might have actually
and
worked
what I'm
better.
trying to say from what I understand in Nevada, they are serious standards. Nobody, and in there, I mean, I care about women. I have a lot of women that come caregiving for me. There are no real restrictions on how well, there are restrictions on how you treat them, but there's a lot of wiggle room in there. I try to be nice and good and honest. That's not guaranteed. And there's a lot of people in the system that overlook a lot of things because I want to be nice to the guy in the wheelchair. He's a victim. All I'm trying to say is when it comes to prostitution, it's going to happen no matter what. It's the oldest occupation in the world. And I'd even say,
Other than gardener.
well, not by much. I would say this. I'd even make the point that marriage is a form of prostitution. Because when you marry a woman, you're committing to her for sexual access. And she's committing to you for property. And you get the sexual access for the property. I'm just saying, historically speaking, that's how it works. Because in the
That's
sexual,
one way of framing it. I think it's a very
I'm not,
degrading way to frame it.
I don't believe so. I think the romantic framing is actually much worse. Because it
Well, no,
omits
it's a covenant
Peter,
between.
pumpkin eater. Had a wife and couldn't keep her. Put her in a pumpkin shell. And there he kept her very well. There once was an old woman in his shoe that owned so many kids, didn't know what to do. These are property issues.
Okay.
These are also issues related to sexuality, which gives you children, which you need property to raise, at least raise well. And therefore, in the promotion of societal values, you can't just sleep with a woman and you know, it's the whole house thing. How do you make it takes a mommy and a daddy. Back in the day it took a lot more than that. Because in order to raise kids, you needed the grandparents. It was all property based.
Eh, yeah, I mean, and having the grandparents there ties back into
Yeah,
nursing
family.
homes and
Yeah.
at
And
responsibility.
there was a much more broader thing. Now it's like mom goes to the home and the wife and the father and the kids are going to Florida. Yes, it's all very selfish. And if the woman doesn't want another kid, she goes and gets an abortion. Is it's all free for it's the way she liberates herself.
Hey, I mean, if you don't want to take care of your kids, you could just murder them at any age.
Right. And so what I'm trying to say is that if you have people engaging in prostitution, what do you want to also do in regards to that? You want to mitigate disease transfer. So you get everyone tested every 90 days for a broad spectrum of issues. And if they get issues, then you retire them. All the hookers have pay into a fund that takes care of all the hookers. And that's part of how that works.
I don't know if this is just my liberal upbringing, just living in a liberal society.
California.
Yeah. Uh, or what, but
Wow. I'm
part of
not
me is
saying
just
I want
like,
to go there.
why not like let the bad consequences of sin just happen? If people perform, if people are promiscuous,
Right.
the disease that comes with that is the consequence. Why should
Well,
we make it more safe to do evil?
because if you people that do evil, well,
I mean,
prostitution
that was
is.
going back to a previous video. I don't know what order these are going to come out, but
Eh,
limit the population to 50 or 500 million. Well, if you're going to make everything, all vices, as safe as possible,
mm.
you're
Well,
eliminating the built-in natural selection of things.
well, and all I'm trying to say is we want to circumvent natural selection and say, look, if you're going to do these things, we're going to segregate you from society so it's as if you're dead. You're not reproducing, and we're providing you a place to do this. That on the off chance you come to your senses, oh my God, this is horrible.
Yeah.
I need to get a better life. You can do so under controlled
So kind of
circumstances.
like a purgatory here on Earth.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
You could even call it purgatory. And you could send your kids there when they go to, what do you think college is?
Something.
That's what I'm trying to say. So I never want a daughter to go to a sorority. Those are awful.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want a son to go to I mean, I know what those environments are because I had friends that went to those.
Right.
And yeah, they sounded fun for a while. But here's the thing that's part of growing up. And when you grow up, you're 30-ish.
Yes.
Okay.
Mid-30s.
Okay. Did you live a, in did you live an entirely pure life?
No.
So therefore, when you have a son, will he live an entirely pure life?
I will encourage him to get married as
But
early as possible
but
so that
that
he might.
right, but given your forays into
Probably, yeah. I mean,
right. So
that the culture works against it.
all I'm trying to say is, if my son goes to Las Vegas, has a bender, I'd be like, son, I don't think that's the right thing to do. But I understand,
And you'll
so
probably get venereal disease if you do it. And if you
I
get the girl pregnant, you're now going to marry her.
right.
Even if
So
she's a terrible person,
well,
you're going to pay that consequence for the rest of your life.
well, I right. And what I'm gonna and you're gonna wish you're gonna be Samson.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, I have to be as vague as possible,
yes.
a person I know encouraged his daughter and indeed got her to get an abortion
Hmm.
because the she was young and the guy that uh, the guy that was the father was not a great guy,
Hmm.
and it was a bad situation. but the abortion made, supposedly made her life better, right? Because you're getting rid of the consequence.
Hmm.
But that's you're doing another evil to supposedly correct the first evil. It's like, no.
Well, what if you did? What if this was the thing? So, did she get an abortion or no?
Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah.
All right. So, what if the father said, "Get the guy out of your life. He's not a good influence, but I will help you raise the child."
That would have been better.
Yes, but
Far better.
here's what I'm trying to say: if sex is about bringing life as much as it is about pleasure and coupling, if life brings life, and you bring that life into a chaotic environment, I've known a caregiver. She had 4 kids, and she loves them all, but 2 of them are having real problems. The other 2 are fine. The ones having problems, she has in a 1 bedroom house with 2 grandkids. It's a place that needs to be condemned. And if it were condemned, she'd be homeless. I tried working with that woman for as long as I could. I tried helping her. Um, I did the best I could for her, but I was insufficient. She needs an intervention and a way out of that environment with her kids. And here's one thing for sure: you definitely don't want those kids raised in that environment. So if the parents say, "Hey, we're out of here. We want to go party and do our thing," get the kids out of there. You break the cycle. And you gotta think of it that way. How do you break these generational cycles?
Well, adoption is also a thing.
And the woman doesn't want to give her kid up unless she has to make a choice between living a less stressful life and living with her kid. And until you make those choices, yes, you may not agree with it, but I'm just saying there are lots of things we don't agree with that we have to deal with. And it's hard
Yeah.
in a free society, which I prefer to live in. What if you lived in a theonomy?
Sounds good.
I don't agree.
That's a whole nother topic. And
Are we done now?
yeah.
All right, my name's Kevin on the YouTube Cripple.
And I'm Bizarre Azar.
See you on the next bounce.